12 Keys by Basil Valentine. The preface of Basilius Valentinus, the Benedictine, concerning the great stone of the ancient sages. Having drained to its very dregs the cup of human suffering, I was moved to contemplate the wretchedness of this mortal sphere and the dire consequences of our first parents' disobedience. I perceived then that mankind harbored no hope of repentance, degenerating further with each passing day, and that by reason of their impenitence, the everlasting judgment of God loomed inexorably over them. Wherefore I hastened to withdraw from this corrupt world, to bid it farewell, and to consecrate myself entirely to the service of the Almighty. After residing for some years within the monastery, I found that upon the completion of my appointed duties and daily devotions, a measure of leisure remained to me. Being loath to spend these hours in idleness, lest errant thoughts should entice me into novel transgressions, I resolved to dedicate this time to the study and investigation of those secrets of nature whereby God has shadowed forth eternal truths. To this end, I perused a vast multitude of volumes preserved within our monastery, penned in ancient times by philosophers who had pursued the selfsame inquiries, and was thereby inspired with a more fervent desire to attain the knowledge they had possessed. Albeit my initial progress was modest, God ultimately vouchsafed a gracious answer to my earnest supplications, opening my eyes to perceive that which others had beheld before me. Within our convent, there resided a brother afflicted with a grievous malady of the kidneys, to whom none of the numerous physicians he consulted had been able to afford even momentary respite. Consequently, he had resigned himself to the hands of God, despairing of all mortal assistance. Prompted by fraternal affection, I gathered sundry herbs, extracted their essential salts, and distilled diverse medicinal remedies. Yet none of these preparations appeared to afford him the slightest relief, and after the passage of 6 years, I realized I had exhausted every conceivable botanical substance, to no beneficial effect. At length, I resolved to dedicate myself to the investigation of those virtues and potencies which the Creator has infused into metals and minerals, and the more deeply I searched, the more abundant were my findings. Each discovery paved the way for the next, and when God had graciously permitted me to conduct numerous experiments, I came to comprehend clearly the nature, the properties, and the occult potency divinely imparted to minerals and metals. Among these mineral substances, I discovered one which exhibited a manifold play of colors, proving to be of the utmost efficacy in our hermetic art. I extracted the spiritual essence of this substance, and therewith restored our ailing brother to pristine health within the span of a few days. For the potency of this spirit was so formidable as to quicken the languishing vitality of my stricken brother, who, from that hour until the day of his demise, remembered me in his hourly supplications. His intercessions, combined with my own unremitting diligence, so found favor with the Almighty that there was revealed to me that sublime mystery which God ever veils from those who are wise in their own conceits. Thus, it has been my desire to disclose to you in this treatise, so far as is lawful for me, the stone of the ancients, so that you also might possess the knowledge of this supreme earthly treasure, for your physical well-being and consolation in this vale of tears. I write of these matters not for my own benefit, but for the welfare of posterity, and though my words be concise and plain, that which they signify is of immeasurable magnitude. Ponder them deeply, that you also may discover the rock which constitutes the foundation stone of truth, a temporal blessing, and an everlasting reward. The tract of Basilius Valentinus, the Benedictine, concerning the great stone of the ancient sages. In the preface, gentle reader and zealous student of this art, I promise to impart to you a knowledge of our cornerstone or rock, of the process of its preparation, and of the substance from which it was formerly derived by those ancient sages to whom the secret of our art was first divinely revealed for the preservation and happiness of mortal life. Be assured that I intend to fulfill this promise in its entirety, and to speak with as much candor as the tenets of our art permit, neither misleading you with sophistical deceptions nor obscuring the truth, but rather laying open to you the very source and fountainhead of all blessings. I propose to articulate my thoughts in a few straightforward and unadorned words, for I possess no skill in the art of prolixity, nor do I believe that an exuberance of language fosters clarity. On the contrary, I am persuaded that a multitude of words serves only to darken counsel. Know, therefore, that although many are engaged in the quest for this stone, it is nonetheless discovered by exceedingly few. For the Creator never willed that it should become a matter of common knowledge. It is rather to be esteemed as a gift reserved for those favored few who cherish truth and abhor falsehood, who meditate upon our art with unremitting diligence day and night, and whose hearts are devoted to God with unfeigned affection. Hence, if you desire to prepare our great and ancient stone, I bear witness to you in all sincerity that you must heed my instructions with the utmost diligence, and, prior to all else, implore the gracious blessing of the Creator of the universe. You must likewise sincerely repent of your transgressions, confessing them fully, and firmly resolve to lead a virtuous and holy life. Furthermore, it is necessary that you resolve to demonstrate your gratitude to the Almighty for His unspeakable gift by succoring the impoverished and the afflicted, and by opening both your hand and your heart to the needy. Then shall God prosper your labors, rewarding your quest with success, and ultimately vouchsafing you a place in heaven as the fruit of your faith. Do not disdain the veracious writings of those who possessed the stone before our time, for, next to the illuminating grace of God, it is from their works that I derived my understanding. Let your study of their texts be frequent and reiterative, lest you lose the thread of insight and the lamp of comprehension be extinguished. Devote yourself entirely to this pursuit, avoiding all flightiness or double-mindedness. Let your intellect resemble a steadfast rock, wherein the diverse dictums of the sages are synthesized into the unity of their essential meaning. For he who is easily swayed in contrary directions is unlikely to discover the path of truth. Since our most ancient stone is not derived from combustible matter, you must cease to seek it within substances incapable of enduring the ordeal of fire. For this reason, it is preposterous to suppose that any use can be made of botanical substances, notwithstanding that the stone itself is endowed with a principle of growth. Were our stone of a vegetable nature, it would, like other organic matter, be consumed by fire, leaving behind naught but a residual salt. Ancient authors have, indeed, designated our stone as the vegetable stone. Yet that appellation was suggested to them solely by the circumstance that it germinates and increases in magnitude, in the manner of a plant. No further that animals propagate only according to their kind, and within the limits of their own species. Consequently, our stone can only be prepared from its own specific seed, whence it was derived in the beginning. And from this you will also perceive that the animal soul must not be the subject of this investigation. The animal kingdom constitutes a distinct realm, nor can anything ever be obtained therefrom that does not partake of an animal nature. But our stone, as it has been bequeathed to me by the ancients, is derived from two things, and yet one thing, wherein is concealed a third. This is the unadulterated truth, and a most trustworthy maxim. For male and female have from antiquity been regarded as a single body, not by virtue of any external or superficial consideration, but by reason of the ardor of that mutual affection which naturally unites them. And just as the male and female seed jointly constitute the principle of propagation, so too may the sperm of the matter from which our stone is fashioned be sown and multiplied. There exist within our substance two complementary seeds, from which our stone may be prepared and multiplied. If you are a true devotee of our art, you will weigh and ponder these words with the utmost care, lest, in common with other charlatans, you fall into the perilous pit prepared by the adversary of mankind. But from what source are you to obtain this seed? This inquiry you may most easily answer by proposing unto yourself a reciprocal question. What is it that you desire to cultivate from this seed, and to what purpose do you intend to apply it? Truly, there can exist no doubt that it must represent the root, or primary substance, of metallic bodies, from whence all metals derive their origin. It is, therefore, imperative that we now proceed to discourse upon the generation of these metals. In the beginning, when the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters, and whilst all remained enveloped in darkness, the Almighty and Eternal God, whose dawn and wisdom are co-eternal with Himself, by His inscrutable counsel created out of nothingness the heaven and the earth, and all things contained therein, both visible and invisible. The manner in which this act of creation was accomplished I shall not endeavor to explain. This is a mystery expounded to us within the Holy Scriptures, and one that must be apprehended solely through faith. To every creature God imparted its particular seed, wherewith to propagate its own kind, so that by this design there might be a perpetual increase of humankind and beasts, of plants and metals. To man it was not granted to generate new seed. He was permitted only to educe novel forms of life from that which was already in existence. The creation of seed God reserved exclusively unto Himself, for were man capable of creating seed, he would render himself equal to the Creator. Know that our seed is produced in the following manner. A celestial influence descends from on high, by the divine decree and ordinance of God, and commingles with the astral properties. When this union has been consummated, the two bring forth a third, namely, a terrestrial substance, which is the principle of our seed and its primary source, thereby establishing its lineage, and from which three the elements, such as water, air, and earth, take their origin. These elements operate beneath the earth in the guise of fire, and there generate what Hermes and all my predecessors have termed the three primary principles: the internal soul, the impalpable spirit, and the visible body, beyond which we can discover no more ancient origin of our magistry. In the fullness of time, these three unite and, through the operation of fire, are transmuted into a palpable substance, comprising quicksilver, sulfur, and salt. Should these three substances be commingled, they are hardened and coagulated into a perfect body, which represents the seed ordained and appointed by the Creator. This is a truth of the highest importance and certainty. If the metallic soul, the metallic spirit, and the metallic corporeal form be present, there shall likewise exist metallic quicksilver, metallic sulfur, and metallic salt, which conjointly constitute the perfect metallic body. If you cannot perceive that which you ought herein to comprehend, you should not dedicate yourself to the study of philosophy. Moreover, I declare to you in brief that you cannot acquire a metallic body save by perfectly uniting these three principles into one. Know, furthermore, that all beasts are, like unto man, composed of flesh and blood, and possess likewise a vitalizing spirit, yet are utterly destitute of that rational soul which the Creator bestowed upon man alone. Consequently, when animals die, they perish eternally. But when man resigns his mortal life into the hands of his Creator, his soul does not perish. It returns, and is reunited to the glorified body, wherein, after the resurrection, soul and spirit shall dwell together once more in everlasting glory, never again to be sundered throughout all eternity. Hence, the rational soul of man renders him an enduring creature, and though his body may appear to perish, yet we know that he shall live forevermore. For unto him, death is merely a process of purification, by means of which he is liberated from his transgressions and translated to another and far better realm. But there is no resurrection for the brute beasts, inasmuch as they lack a rational soul, for which alone our Lord and Savior shed his precious blood. For though a body may be animated by a spirit, it is not therefore necessarily fixed, unless indeed it possess a rational soul, that indissoluble bond between body and spirit which represents their union and resists all endeavors to sunder them. Where there is no soul, there can be no hope of redemption. Nothing can achieve perfection or permanence without a soul. This is a profound and vital truth, which I feel in conscience bound to disclose to my readers. Now, the spirits of metals possess this property of fixation in a greater or lesser degree. They are more or less volatile in proportion to the mutual compatibility of their bodies and souls. A metal which possesses the three conditions of fixation remains unaffected by fire, nor is it vanquished by any other external agent. Yet there is but a single metal that fulfills these conditions, namely gold. Silver likewise contains fixed mercury and is not so readily volatilized as the base metals, but endures the trial of fire and offers no sustenance to voracious Saturn. Amatory Venus is clothed in abundant color, and her entire body is a single pure tincture, not unlike the crimson hue discovered within the most precious of metals. Yet, though her spirit is of noble quality, her body is leprous, affording no permanent substratum for the fixed tincture. Consequently, the soul must share the destiny of the imperfect body, and when the body perishes, the soul is compelled to depart from it. For its habitation has been consumed by fire, leaving it without a dwelling wherein to abide. Fixed salt has bestowed upon warlike Mars a hard, firm, and durable body, which testifies to the nobility of his soul, nor can fire be said to hold much dominion over it. And if his strength be allied with the beauty of Venus, I do not deny that a precious and harmonious result may be achieved. For the phlegmatic or humid quality of the moon may be warmed by the ardent blood of Venus, and the blackness of Venus purged by the potent salt of Mars. You need not seek our metallic seed among the elements. It need not be sought so far back. If you can but rectify the mercury, sulfur, and salt until the metallic spirit and body are inseparably united by means of the metallic soul, you shall thereby firmly rivet the chain of love, and prepare the palace for the coronation. These mysteries represent a liquid key, comparable to the celestial influence, and a dry water joined to the terrestrial substance, all of which constitute a single entity, derived from 3 and 2 and 1. If you comprehend this, you have already attained our magistery. Then must you join the husband and wife together, that each may nourish itself upon the other's flesh and blood, so that they may propagate their species 1,000-fold. Though I would fain reveal this matter to you more plainly and openly, I am prohibited from doing so by the law of God, and by the fear of his wrath, and of eternal condemnation, lest the gift of the Most High should be abused. If, however, you do not comprehend the theoretical portion of my work, perhaps the practical demonstration will serve to enlighten you more fully. I shall therefore proceed to demonstrate how, by the grace of God, I was enabled to prepare the stone of the ancients, and, for your further instruction, I shall append 12 keys, wherein I provide a figurative exposition of our art. Take a quantity of the finest and most excellent gold, and resolve it into its component parts by those means which nature vouchsafes to the lovers of art, even as an anatomist dissects the human frame. Thus, reduce your gold back to that which it was before it became gold, and you shall discover the seed, the beginning, the middle, and the end, that from which our gold and its feminine principle are derived. The pure and subtle spirit, the spotless soul, and the astral salt and balsam. When these three are united, we may designate them the mercurial liquid. A water which was examined by Mercury, found by him to be pure and immaculate, and consequently espoused by him as his wife. Of this union was born an incombustible oil, whereat Mercury became so greatly exalted that he scarcely recognized himself. He put forth the feathers of an eagle, devoured the slippery tail of the dragon, and challenged Mars to combat. Thereupon, Mars summoned his equestrian hosts, commanding them to immure Mercury within a dungeon under the strict custody of Vulcan, there to remain until such time as he might be delivered by one of the female sex. Upon this disclosure, the remaining planets assembled to deliberate on the most prudent and sagacious course of action to pursue. Having convened, Saturn first stepped forward and spoke in this manner. I, Saturn, the most preeminent of the planets within the firmament, declare here before you all that I am the most humble and unprofitable of all who are present, that my body is frail, corruptible, and of a swarthy hue, yet, nevertheless, it is I who test you all. For, possessing nothing within myself that is stable, I bear away with me everything of a kindred nature. My misery is entirely occasioned by that fickle and inconstant Mercury, through his negligent and remiss conduct. Therefore, I entreat you, let us exact vengeance upon him. Let us immure him in prison, and detain him there until he perishes and dissolves, nay, until not a single drop of his blood remains visible. Then golden Jupiter stepped forward, bent his knees, inclined his scepter, and with formidable authority commanded them to execute the demand of Saturn. He added that he would inflict punishment upon anyone who failed to assist in the execution of this sentence. Thereupon, Mars advanced with drawn sword, a blade that gleamed with a multitude of colors, casting forth a beautiful and extraordinary splendor. This sword he delivered to the warder Vulcan, commanding him to slay Mercury and consume him, together with his bones, to ashes. To this Vulcan consented. While he was performing his office, there appeared a beautiful lady clad in a long silvery robe, interwoven with many waters, who was immediately recognized as the moon, the consort of the sun, falling upon her knees, with outstretched hands and weeping eyes. She besought them to liberate her husband, the sun, from the prison wherein, through the cunning wiles of Mercury, he was being detained by the planets. Yet Vulcan declined to heed her request, nor was he mollified by the poignant supplications of Lady Venus, who appeared in a crimson robe, interwoven with threads of green, captivating all by the beauty of her countenance and the fragrance of the flowers she held in her hand. She interceded with Vulcan, the judge, in the Chaldean tongue, and reminded him that a woman was destined to effect the deliverance of the prisoner. Nevertheless, even to her entreaties he remained obdurate. While they were yet speaking, the heavens opened, and there emerged a mighty beast, accompanied by many thousands of offspring, which drove the warder before it. Opening its maw wide, it swallowed Venus, its fair helper, whilst proclaiming in a resonant voice, "I am born of woman, woman has propagated my seed, and therewith replenished the earth. Her soul is devoted to mine, and therefore I must be nourished with her blood." Once the beast had uttered these words in a powerful voice, it hastened into a certain chamber and closed the door behind it, whither its voracious brood followed, consuming the aforementioned incombustible oil, which they digested with the utmost ease, thereby becoming far more numerous than they had been hitherto. This they persisted in doing until they populated the entire world. Then the scholars of that realm assembled, striving to discern the true interpretation of all they had witnessed. Yet they were unable to reach an agreement until there came forward a man of venerable years, possessing snowy locks and a silvery beard, and arrayed in a flowing purple robe on his head. He wore a crown adorned with brilliant carbuncles. His loins were girded with the cincture of life. His feet were bare, and his words penetrated to the very depths of the human soul. Ascending the tribune, he commanded the assembly to listen to him in silence, inasmuch as he was sent from on high to explain to them the significance of what they had witnessed. When absolute silence prevailed, he delivered himself as follows. "Awake, O man, and behold the light, lest the darkness deceive thee. The gods revealed this matter unto me in a profound sleep. Felicitous is the man who comprehends the great works of the divine power. Blessed is he whose eyes are opened to behold light where previously they perceived darkness. 2 stars are bestowed by the gods upon man to guide him to sublime wisdom. Gaze steadfastly upon them, follow their lights, and you shall discover in them the secret of knowledge. The bird phoenix, from the south, plucks out the heart of the mighty beast from the east. Bestow wings upon the beast from the east, that it may be on an equality with the bird from the south. For the beast from the east must be divested of its lion's skin, and lose its wings. Subsequently, it must plunge into the saline waters of the vast ocean, and emerge thence in renovated beauty. Plunge thy volatile spirits into a deep spring whose waters never fail, that they may become like unto their mother, who is hidden therein and born of 3. Hungary is my native land. The heavens and the stars are my habitation. The earth is my spouse. Though I must perish and be interred, yet Vulcan causes me to be born anew. Therefore Hungary is my native land, and my mother encompasses the whole world." When all who were present had received these his sayings, he thus continued, "Cause that which is above to be below, that which is visible to be invisible, and that which is palpable to become impalpable. Again, let that which is below become that which is above, let the invisible become visible, and the impalpable palpable. Herein you behold the perfection of our art, without any defect or diminution, but that wherein death and life, destruction and resurrection dwell, is a round sphere, wherewith the goddess of fortune guides her chariot, and imparts the gift of wisdom to men of God. Its proper appellation here upon earth, and for the human intellect, is all in all. Let him who would know what this all in all is, bestow upon the earth great wings, and cause it to fly upward through the air to the celestial regions. Then singe its wings with fierce heat, and cause it to fall into the Red Sea, there to be drowned. Thereafter, desiccate the water with fire and air until the earth reappears, and you shall possess all in all. If you cannot discover it in this manner, contemplate the things that exist in the world. Then you shall find the all in all, which is the attractive virtue of all metals and minerals derived from salt and sulfur, and twice born of mercury. More I may not declare concerning all in all, since all is comprehended in all. My friends, blessed are ye if, by hearkening to the words of the wise, ye can discover this great stone, which hath power to cure leprous and imperfect metallic bodies and to regenerate them, to preserve men in health, and to procure for them longevity, even as it has hitherto maintained the vital spark within me for so long that I am weary of existence and yearn to expire. For his wisdom and mercy, and for the gracious gift which he bestowed upon me so long ago, I am bound to render thanks unto God, now and evermore. Amen. When the elder had thus spoken, he vanished from their sight. Yet all who had heard him departed, each to his own house, and meditated upon his words by day and by night. Here follow the 12 keys of Basilius Valentinus, the Benedictine, wherewith we may open the portals of the knowledge of the most ancient stone and unseal the most secret fountain of health. Chapter 1. First Key. Let my friend be assured that no impure or blemished things are of utility for our purpose. For there is nothing in their leprous nature capable of advancing the interests of our art. There is far greater likelihood of that which is inherently good being corrupted by that which is impure. Everything extracted from the mines possesses its value, unless, indeed, it be adulterated. Adulteration, however, corrupts its excellence and its efficacy. Even as the physician purges and cleanses the inward parts of the body, removing all noxious matter by means of his medicines, so must our metallic substances be purified and refined of all extraneous matter, in order to ensure the success of our undertaking. Consequently, our masters require a pure, immaculate body, untainted by any foreign admixture, which very contamination constitutes the leprosy of our metals. Let the diadem of the king be of unalloyed gold, and let the queen who is joined to him in holy matrimony be chaste and immaculate. If you would operate by means of our bodies, secure a ferocious grey wolf, which, though by virtue of its name subject to the dominion of warlike Mars, is by birth the progeny of ancient Saturn, inhabiting the valleys and mountains of the world, wherein it roams, savage with hunger. Consign to this beast the body of the king, and once he has devoured it, reduce him utterly to ashes within a great conflagration. Through this procedure the king shall be liberated, and when this rite has been performed thrice, the lion will have overcome the wolf, finding therein nothing more to consume. Thus has our body been rendered suitable for the inaugural stage of our work. Understand that this is the sole proper and legitimate method of purifying our substance. For the lion purifies himself with the blood of the wolf, and the tincture of that blood comports marvelously with the tincture of the lion, inasmuch as these two liquids are of close affinity. Once the lion's hunger is appeased, his spirit waxes more potent than before, and his eyes glitter like the sun. His internal essence is henceforth of inestimable value for the eradication of all defects and the healing of all infirmities. He is pursued by the 10 lepers, who desire to drink his blood, and all who are tormented by any manner of sickness are restored by this vital fluid. For whosoever drinks of this golden fountain experiences a regeneration of his entire nature, the dispersion of all morbid matter, a renewed supply of blood, a fortification of the heart and of all the vitals, and a permanent strengthening of every limb. For it dilates all the pores, carrying away through them whatever impedes the perfect health of the body, while permitting all that is beneficial to remain therein undisturbed. Yet let my friend be scrupulously vigilant to preserve this fountain of life limpid and clear. Should any foreign water be mingled with it, it is corrupted and becomes positively deleterious. If it yet retains any of the solvent employed for its dissolution, you must diligently purge it away. For no corrosive agent can be of the slightest utility in the prevention of internal maladies. When a tree is observed to bear sour and unwholesome fruit, its branches must be excised, and scions of superior trees grafted upon it. The new branches thereupon become organically united to the trunk. Yet, though nourished by its sap, they henceforth yield excellent and pleasant fruit. The king traverses 6 regions of the heavenly firmament, and in the 7th he establishes his abode. There the royal palace is adorned with golden tapestry. If you comprehend my meaning, this key will open the first lock and withdraw the first bolt. But if you do not, neither spectacles nor the keenest natural vision will enable you to grasp what follows. However, Lucius Papirius has instructed me to say no more concerning this key. Chapter 2. Second Key. Within the residences of the great, diverse kinds of beverages are found, of which scarcely 2 are identical in aroma, color, or taste, for they are prepared in a vast variety of differing manners. Nevertheless, they are all consumed, and each is destined for its own specific purpose. When the sun emits his rays, shedding them abroad upon the clouds, it is commonly observed that he is drawing up water, and should he do so frequently, thereby inducing rain, it is deemed a fruitful year. If it be intended to construct a palace, the services of many diverse craftsmen must be enlisted, and a great variety of materials is requisite. Otherwise, the palace would not be worthy of the name. It is futile to employ timber where stone is required. The daily ebb and flow of the tide, produced by the sympathetic influence of the celestial bodies, impart great wealth and benediction to the earth. For whenever the water returns in its course, it bears a blessing therewith. A bride, when she is led forth to be married, is gloriously adorned in a great variety of precious vestments, which, by enhancing her beauty, render her pleasing in the eyes of the bridegroom. Yet the rites of the nuptial night she performs divested of all apparel save that with which she was arrayed at the moment of her birth. In like manner our bridal pair, Apollo and Diana, are arrayed in splendid attire, and their heads and bodies are washed with various kinds of water, some strong, some weak, yet no 2 precisely alike, and each designed for its own specific purpose. Know that when the moisture of the earth ascends in the form of vapor, it is condensed in the upper regions and precipitated to the earth by its own gravity. Thus the earth recovers the moisture of which it had been deprived, and receives strength to put forth buds and herbs. In the same manner, you must repeatedly distill the water which you have extracted from the earth, and subsequently restore it once more to your earth, even as the waters in the Strait of Euripus frequently recede from the shore and then submerge it again, until they reach a certain limit. When, therefore, the palace has been constructed by the hands of many craftsmen, and the glassy sea has completed its course, filling the palace with precious things, it is prepared for the king to enter and take his seat upon the throne. Yet you must observe that the king and his consort must be entirely naked when they are joined together. They must be divested of all their glorious apparel, and must lie down together in that same state of nudity in which they were born, lest their seed be corrupted by admixture with any foreign substance. Allow me to declare, in conclusion, that the bath wherein the bridegroom is placed must consist of two hostile substances, which purge and rectify each other through a continuous conflict. For it is not salutary for the eagle to construct her nest upon the summits of the Alps, since her offspring are thereby in grave danger of perishing from the intense cold that prevails there. If, however, you join to the eagle the icy dragon that has long inhabited the rocks and crawled forth from the caverns of the earth, and place both over the fire, it will elicit from the icy dragon a fiery spirit which, by virtue of its intense heat, will consume the wings of the eagle and prepare a vaporous bath of so extraordinary a temperature that the snow will melt upon the mountain peaks, turning to water, wherewith the invigorating mineral bath may be prepared, and fortune, health, life, and strength restored to the king. Chapter 3. Third Key. By means of water, fire may be extinguished and utterly quenched. If an abundance of water be poured upon a small fire, the fire is overcome, and compelled to yield the victory to the water. In like manner, our fiery sulfur must be overcome by means of our prepared water. Yet, once the water has vanished, the fiery essence of our sulphurous vapor must triumph and regain the victory. But no such triumph can occur unless the king imparts great strength and potency to his water, tinging it with his own color, so that he may thereby be consumed and rendered invisible, only to recover his visible form once more, with a reduction of his simple essence and a development of his perfection. A painter can apply yellow upon white and red or crimson upon yellow, for though all these colors are present, the latter prevails by virtue of its greater intensity. When you have accomplished the same in our art, you will have before your eyes the light of wisdom, which shines in the darkness, though it does not burn. For our sulfur does not burn, yet its brilliance is visible both far and near. Neither does it color any substance until it has been prepared and dyed with its own hue, which it then imparts to all weak and imperfect metals. This sulfur, however, is incapable of imparting such a tincture until, through assiduous and unremitting labor, it has been induced to abjure its pristine hue. For the weaker agent cannot overcome the stronger, but must perforce yield the victory to its superior. The essence of the entire matter resides in this. That which is minute and feeble cannot render aid to another of like frailty, nor can a combustible substance shield another from the consuming flame. That which is destined to protect another substance against combustion must itself be secure from such peril. The protecting agent must possess greater strength than the object of its protection. That is to say, it must be inherently incombustible. He, therefore, who desires to prepare the incombustible sulfur of the sages must seek our sulfur within a substance wherein it remains fireproof, a state attained only after its corporeal form has been absorbed by the saline sea, and subsequently rejected therefrom. Thereupon, it must be so highly exalted as to radiate with a brilliance surpassing that of all the stars of heaven, possessing in its essence a rich abundance of blood, after the manner of the pelican, which lacerates its own breast and, without any diminution of its own vigor, nourishes and rears its numerous offspring with its life-blood. This tincture is the rose of our masters, of a deep purple hue, designated also as the red blood of the dragon, or the manifold purple mantle wherewith the Queen of Salvation is arrayed, and by virtue of which all metals are regenerated in their color. Guard with utmost care this splendid mantle, together with the astral salt that is conjoined with this sulfur and shields it from adversity. Add to it a sufficient measure of the bird's volatility. Then shall the cock devour the fox, and, having been drowned in the waters and quickened by the fire, shall in turn be devoured by the fox. Chapter 4. Fourth key. All flesh derived from the earth must undergo decomposition and be reduced once more to dust. Thereafter, the terrestrial salt, by celestial resuscitation, gives rise to a new generation. For unless there be earth first, there can be no resurrection within our magistery. For within the earth resides the balm of nature and the salt of the sages. At the consummation of the age, the world shall be judged by fire, and all things that the Creator brought forth from nothingness shall by fire be reduced to ashes, from which very ashes the phoenix is destined to generate her offspring. For within these ashes slumbers a true and genuine tartaric substance, which, upon dissolution, will enable us to unbolt the most secure portal of the royal chamber. Following the conflagration, there shall arise a new heaven and a new earth, and the regenerated man shall possess a far more noble and glorified state than he did heretofore. When the sand and ashes have been thoroughly matured and ripened by the fire, the artisan fashions therefrom glass, which remains durable and steadfast in the heat, resembling in its color a crystalline stone. To the uninitiated, this remains a profound mystery, yet it is not so to the master whose extensive experience has rendered him familiar with the operation. From stones, the master likewise prepares lime through calcination, an agent of great utility in our work. Yet, prior to their preparation by fire, they are but ordinary stones. The stone must be matured and rendered ardent by fire, whereupon it becomes so potent that few substances can be compared to the fiery spirit of lime. By reducing any substance to ashes, you may obtain its essential salt. If, during this dissolution, the sulfur and mercury are separated and subsequently restored to their salt, you may once more reconstruct that very form which was destroyed by the process of combustion. This assertion the wise of this world denounce as the height of folly and regard as a rebellion, contending that such a transformation would be equivalent to a new creation, and that the Creator has denied such demiurgic power to fallen man. Yet the folly rests entirely with them, for they fail to comprehend that our artist does not presume to create anything ex nihilo, but merely to evolve new forms from the seed already provided to his hand by the Creator. If you do not possess the ashes, you will be unable to obtain our salt, and without our salt you cannot impart a corporeal form to our substance, for the coagulation of all things is effected by salt alone. Just as salt is the great conservative principle protecting all things from decay, so does the salt of our magistery preserve metals from decomposition and utter annihilation. Were their balm to perish and the spirit to depart from the body, the corpse would be utterly lifeless and no longer of any utility. The metallic spirit would have fled, leaving its habitation vacant, despoiled, and inanimate. Observe likewise, thou who art a lover of this art, that the salt obtained from ashes possesses great potency and harbors many hidden virtues. Nevertheless, this salt remains unprofitable until its inward essence has been extracted. For the spirit alone imparts strength and life. The body of itself profiteth nothing. If you possess the knowledge to find this spirit, you have attained the salt of the sages and the incombustible oil, concerning which much has been written prior to my time. Although many philosophers have sought me with ardent zeal, yet exceedingly few succeed at length in discovering my secret virtue. Chapter 5. Fifth key. The vivifying power of the earth produces all things that germinate therefrom, and he who asserts that the earth is devoid of life makes a declaration flatly contradicted by the most elementary facts. For that which is inanimate cannot generate life and growth, seeing that it is destitute of the quickening spirit. This spirit is the life and soul residing within the earth, nourished by celestial and sidereal influences. For all herbs, trees, roots, metals, and minerals derive their growth and sustenance from the terrestrial spirit, which is the spirit of life. This spirit is itself nourished by the stars, thereby becoming capable of imparting sustenance to all growing things, fostering them even as a mother nurtures her child within the womb. The minerals lie concealed within the womb of the earth, nurtured by her with the spirit she receives from on high. Thus, the vegetative power of which I speak is imparted not by the earth itself, but by the life-giving spirit dwelling within it. Were the earth abandoned by this spirit, it would become dead and incapable of affording sustenance to any creature. For its sulfur or richness would be destitute of the quickening spirit, without which there can exist neither life nor growth. Two contrary spirits can scarcely dwell in unison, nor do they readily combine. For when a thunderbolt flashes amidst a tempest of rain, the two spirits of which it is composed flee from one another with tremendous concussion and tumult, wheeling through the air, so that none can discern or declare whither they depart, unless they have ascertained by experience the manner of these spirits' manifestation. Know, therefore, gentle reader, that life is the sole true spirit, and that which the ignorant multitude regards as dead may be restored to a permanent, visible, and spiritual life, if only the spirit be reintegrated with the body, that spirit which is sustained by celestial nourishment and derived from heavenly, elemental, and earthly substances, otherwise designated as prime matter. Moreover, even as iron possesses its magnet which attracts it with the invisible bonds of love, so our gold possesses its own magnet, namely, the prime matter of the great stone. If you comprehend these my words, you are wealthier and more blessed than the entirety of the world. Permit me to conclude this chapter with one further observation. When a man gazes into a mirror, he beholds therein the reflection of his own likeness. If, however, he attempts to touch it, he shall find that it is impalpable, and that he has laid his hand upon the surface of the glass alone. In like manner, the spirit that must be evolved from this matter is visible yet impalpable. This spirit is the root of vitality within our bodies and constitutes the mercury of the philosophers, wherefrom is prepared the liquid water of our art, that water which must once again assume a corporeal form and be rectified by means of specific purifying agents into the most perfect medicine. Indeed, we commence with a firm and palpable substance, which subsequently transitions into a volatile spirit and a golden liquid, without undergoing any fundamental conversion, and from which our sages derive their vital principle. Ultimately, we obtain the indestructible panacea for both human and metallic bodies, a mystery more suited to the comprehension of angels than of men, save for those who seek it from the hand of God through sincere prayer, and who offer genuine proofs of their gratitude through service rendered to Him and to their impoverished neighbors. To this I may add, in conclusion, that each successive operation is developed from its predecessor. First, our primary matter must be meticulously purified, then dissolved, destroyed, decomposed, and reduced to dust and ashes. Thereupon, one must derive from it a volatile spirit as white as snow, and another volatile spirit as red as blood. These two spirits contain a third, and yet they constitute but a single spirit. These are the three spirits that preserve and multiply life. Therefore, unite them, administer the sustenance and moisture that nature requires, and maintain them within a heated chamber until the perfect birth is accomplished. Then you shall behold and experience the efficacy of the gift bestowed upon you by God and nature. Know, furthermore, that hitherto my lips have not disclosed this secret to any soul, and that God has endowed natural substances with far greater virtues than the generality of mankind is prepared to believe. Upon my mouth God has set a seal, so that opportunity may remain for successors to write of the wondrous operations of nature, which the foolish deem preternatural. For they fail to comprehend that all things are ultimately traceable to supernatural origins, yet remain in this present terrestrial state, subject to natural laws. Chapter 6. Sixth Key. The male without the female is deemed but half a body, nor can the female without the male be considered more complete, for neither can bring forth fruit so long as they remain solitary. Yet, if the two be conjugally united, a perfect body is established, and their seed is placed in a condition wherein it may yield increase. If an excess of seed be cast into the field, the plants obstruct one another's growth, precluding the maturation of the fruit. Conversely, if too little be sown, noxious weeds spring up and choke it. If a merchant desires to preserve a clear conscience, let him render just measure to his neighbor. If his measure and weight be not deficient, he shall receive the commendation of the poor. In an excess of water one may easily drown. Conversely, too little water is swiftly evaporated by the heat of the sun. If, therefore, you wish to attain the desired objective, observe a precise proportion in compounding the liquid substance of the sages, lest that which is superabundant overwhelm that which is deficient, thereby impeding generation. For excessive rain ruins the harvest, and extreme drought stunts its growth. Therefore, when Neptune has prepared his bath, measure with care the exact quantity of permanent water required, ensuring there is neither deficiency nor excess. The twofold fiery male must be nourished with a snowy swan, whereupon they must mutually destroy and resurrect one another. Then the heir of the imprisoned fiery male shall occupy 3 of the 4 quarters of the world, and constitute 3 parts of the imprisoned fiery male, so that the swan's death song may be clearly perceived. Subsequently, the roasted swan shall become sustenance for the king, and the fiery king, seized with an ardent affection for the queen, shall delight in her embrace until they both dissolve and coalesce into a single body. It is a common adage that 2 can overpower 1, particularly if they possess sufficient space to exert their strength. Know also that there must arise a twofold wind and a single wind, and that they must blow with fury from the east and from the south. If, when their rage subsides, the air has resolved into water, you may rest assured that the spiritual shall likewise be transmuted into a corporeal form, and that our number shall prevail throughout the 4 seasons in the 4th quadrant of the heavens. Its course shall be perfected by the ordeal of fire in the lowest chamber of our palace, when the 2 shall overcome and consume the 3rd. For this stage of our magistery, great skill is required to divide and compound the substances correctly, so that the art may culminate in riches, and the balance be not compromised by unequal weights. The sky of which we speak is the firmament of our art, wherein there must be justly proportioned measures of our air and earth, our true water and our palpable fire. Chapter 7. 7th Key. Natural heat preserves the life of man. Should his body lose this vital warmth, his existence reaches its end. A temperate degree of natural heat shields him from the cold, whereas an excess thereof extinguishes life. It is not requisite that the physical substance of the sun should touch the earth. The sun is capable of heating the earth by casting down its rays, which are intensified through reflection. This intermediate agency. Do you want access to this and all the complete audiobooks on the channel, plus the ebook version? Click the link in the description or scan the QR code in the left corner of the screen to access our library, where you can listen to your favorite esoteric books without ad interruptions, lock your screen, or use other apps while the narration plays, and even download the ebook version to follow along as you listen. Listen on your computer via web browser, or download the app from the Play Store. After subscribing, you will receive an email with your login details, password, and step-by-step instructions on how to access the books through the Hotmart app.